The last pieces we need to do on the barracks are to put in place the door, two little statues either side of the door, and then to use the space at the back of the barracks, of the building itself, to put some kind of mural on there that represents the the kind of lizardy, soldiery type people that we think are living in those buildings. So the first thing to do is to draw out on a piece of card the basic shape of the door. And what we've got here is just the sort of framework of the door. At the bottom, across the bottom, the width of that is 40mm, because we need to make it wide enough that we could believe our model could get through there. If you were to draw a line then straight up from the centre of that bottom line, that would be 35mm, and then across the top 25mm. That's a good size if we're using these stir sticks, as the stir sticks are 5mm wide. So even when we put them, we draw a line inside those lines, 5mm inside, and then put the stir sticks around it, you're still going to get a good size inside for the door, again, that the model could go through. So the first thing to do is draw out that basic shape on a piece of card. And as you can see in this photo, I've then overlaid the stir stick and used the lines to guide me on where I need to draw on the stir stick so I can cut them out. And then what we need to do is create, just to get some depth, essentially two layers of these stir sticks. So on this photo, what you can see is I've created those two layers, but you'll see that one set's a different size than the other, because what we want to do is put that smaller top piece on the bottom layer and the larger piece on the top layer, and that way that larger piece on the top will look like a lintel, essentially being supported by the two side pieces. Once they're all cut and glued and put in place, you need to just coat them in a really good layer of glue, partly to hide the the wood texture. Because we've smoothed out the wood so much, you'll need then to etch in sort of detail that we'd expect to see in stonework. What we have to do there, use anything that you've got to hand, like a bottom of a pen, the edge of some kind of tool, to make some texture on the wood that when we paint it later will then come out as looking like stonework and matching the main model. Once it's all glued like this and you've put the texture on, it's the same routine in terms of the painting. You want to cut out this piece and possibly leave the centre paper in place. That's what I've done, because then later on I'm going to think about, do I want to put a kind of wood effect door in there, maybe it's a stone door and so on, but that backing will just hide the underlying stonework. The next piece that we want to put on is those little lizard statues that go either side of the door, and again I'm using stir sticks to make these. If you get one of those 5mm stir sticks and measure 4 8mm pieces from it, just as we're seeing in the picture here, but also just put a dot on the 4mm mark, because once you've cut those out, what you need to do is just put the very tiniest nick through either edge, because that will then allow us to pop out a very tiny piece of wood either side of those nicks to start to get the shape that we're looking for. Once you've cut those out, then what you need to do is get something like maybe a needle file if you have it, and just round off the edges against those areas that you just cut the wood from. The two areas that you've not touched, they'll become the connecting pieces between the pieces. To make the head, all you've got to do is just put one nick in and remove the piece of wood, and then round off the three edges, and that will give you that sort of lizard head shape. To get the sort of crosshatch scale appearance on all of the pieces, what I did was I actually got a pair of pliers and just literally crimped the piece of wood in between the pliers, bang on sort of 45 degrees, and then turned it so that the lines I'd put in were 90 degrees to each other, and then crimped it again. So I got that kind of lizard scale effect. It stayed fairly well after painting, but you might want to do it after painting. The routine then is the same: glue the pieces to a piece of cardboard and paint them up as if they look like stone. You probably want to go round and just highlight the edges of each of these smaller pieces, because they didn't stand out very well when I put them on the model before they were highlighted. Now you could do both of these, both the door and these little lizard statues, in green stuff if you've got that to hand, layers of cardboard, and lots of different ways. But again, I've just got stir sticks to hand, and they just gave me that sort of standard size in a way that I could repeat, so I thought I'd use the stir sticks, and they've come out fairly well. So first of all, with this lizard design, what we want to do is create some templates that will allow us to transfer the pattern onto the back of each of these barracks. And what I've done, I've actually cut each of the pieces using some milk carton plastic. I just chopped up a milk carton. You get this semi-see-through plastic, and you can see just about that what I've done, I've cut 3 pieces of essentially templates. You see those? For the crown, the sort of outside of the main design. It's really hard to see on here. And also for the teeth. And the way to do that is to get the design, lay the plastic over there, and because it's see-through, we can now draw the design through and then cut it out. Now you'll need one for the outside of the mouth, that looks like that, one for the teeth, that look like that, and one for the sun, or the crown across both. It looks like that. So find some plastic and copy those designs into the plastic, and then cut them out so that we've got a way to place it on the back of the piece and draw around it. See that there? So we're going to place that onto the back of the piece, draw around it with pencil, and then we can go and paint them in, thereby transferring the pattern to each of the barracks.